This is the final of my series on scientific foreknowledge in the Bible. I left off talking about De Sitter time and false histories, and we're going to talk about Whitehall Cosmology and a couple other things like that. Basically, we're talking, this is related to six-day creation, less than 6,000 years ago. What they call, I guess, young Earth creationism. I want to, first of all, look at this idea that there are false histories involved with a young Earth. Now, let's suppose we take fossils, for instance. Well, I don't believe that the fossils were created instantaneously. I believe they're a result of the flood of Noah. So they're not something that was planted to give the appearance of age. They weren't there at the creation. They came later, and I think the flood of Noah is a very good explanation for all the fossils, because fossil formation requires a large amount of pressure and not much time. I also dismiss this idea that young Earth creation has anything to do with false histories of human beings. Humans weren't created yet, so you don't have to worry about weddings that never took place and pictures from proms that never happened and those kinds of things. I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Russell Humphrey's Whitehall Cosmology. I like what he does. For instance, his starting premise has this body of water that's a light year in diameter. Now, I like that just because if it wasn't in the scriptures that there was this standing body of what seems like probably water in the darkness at the beginning, then that would be an arbitrary to just come up with that idea. I don't think that you would find it directly from evidence. However, the whole premise behind this series of videos is to show that God's predictability is greater than scientific modeling or mathematical modeling, and that God can overcome uncertainties and chaotic initial conditions to come up with accurate predictions, as attested by the history of the Israelites and the fact that it was prophesied beforehand, including traumatic and evil things that took place, which nobody would bring upon themselves simply for the sake of fulfilling prophecy. But Dr. Humphrey's scenario is starts out with this body of water that I believe is correctly, or probably is correctly based on the scriptures. But now the rest of his model goes on with known processes, and in order to take care of the distance of the galaxies and so forth, he invokes this process of relativity and time dilation at the point of the Earth and around the center of the Earth, or the solar system, and that allows for the time to take place for the processes of star formation and so forth out at the hundreds of light years away, other parts of the universe. Now, of course, the Bible does say that God spreads out the heavens like a curtain, and in several different places it talks about God spreading out the heavens. So I do believe there is some kind of expansion going on, but I don't personally believe the expansion started any more than 6,000 years ago, and that the universe is only 6,000 light years larger than it was at creation. And so I'm saying that Humphrey's White Hole cosmology, although I think it does a good job of taking care of the and eliminating false histories and providing for the time differences, so that you can have the processes of stellar evolution, so to speak, take place. I don't think it's necessary. I think that the Bible seems to indicate that there weren't processes involved, that it was just created in a functioning fashion, that it was delivered as an operational universe. Now, that creates problems for me that I have to overcome in my theory. Now, from my previous video, I explained how anti-de Sitter time can account for, and it's a legitimate mathematical model, can account for events just appearing without histories. Now, so I'm supposing that you had the first 6 days of creation in anti-de Sitter space, and at the point of rest, when it says God rested on the seventh day, and now a seventh day forward, that he reconfigured the space and time into regular de Sitter time and space, where time now is not looped around on itself any longer. Now, whether it was looped around in a 24-hour period and just went around 6 times, or if it was almost like a 6 days worth of a loop, I don't know how to work that out at this point. But at any rate, it can be modeled, and I'm not saying definitely that's what took place. I'm just saying that it's a possible model. Now, I want to deal with false histories and the idea, for instance, that you have an exploding star, and that's where the difficulty comes in. I want to talk about Jesus and his creation of fish and bread when he fed the 5,000. Now, that the fish obviously were probably adult fish, so but they didn't go through a birth cycle from hatching from eggs and so forth and growing up. They were just delivered as adult fish. Now, the bread's even more interesting because bread goes through a manufacturing process normally, where it has to be kneaded and cooked. Okay, now that process was also not involved in the bread that Jesus fed people with. So, you could want to accuse of false histories on that bread. Now, I understand the exploding star is similar to the bread and fish, but it's a little bit more problematic because it seems like it's speaking to a process that was necessary, but see, I'm going to say it wasn't necessary. You don't have to have an exploding star if you deliver a working universe in a 6-day period, and you need the processes to be in process. You need the system to be in process. If heavy elements are going to be dispersed continually throughout the universe, then they need to be deployed in such a fashion that God had planned beforehand. And it's simply a matter of that process was started without the history. I don't think that's as problematic as people pointed out. I mean, if you have the power to deliver a working universe, then I don't see why that should be such a hang-up. Personally, I don't have a problem with it, and I believe that the original intention, God was going to provide this whole universe to be peopled, because Adam and Eve were to live forever originally. Now, of course, with the fall of man, there was the necessary redemption, and perhaps someday I'll do another series and we'll get into predicting redemption history with the Bible. But I hope that some of this was at least thought-provoking. I look forward to a lot of attacks and maybe even some compliments. Thanks.